5 years ago, I went down the rabbit hole of manual swapping my C55 AMG, and from there, a whole new world opened up for me. I became more and more intrigued of what else I could perform the same operation on. And all throughout that time, there were dozens and dozens of people who were reaching out to have me do the same to their cars. I never knew exactly how to feel about that, but eventually, the right opportunity came along. And that's exactly what today's video is about. My first customer manual swap. Alright you guys, well here we are. The first official customer manual swap. This is a 2007 CLK550 with the M273 and 722.9 7-speed transmission in it currently, that we are going to be swapping to a 6-speed manual. This is the M273 if you're not familiar. Quad cam V8, 5.5 liter, and to be honest, they look like really nice motors and really easy to work on. My first M273 manual swap, but for the most part it's the exact same process as the M113s. You know, similar to both M119 and M113 that I've worked with. M119 requires a lot more fabrication than these 273s and the 113s, but yeah, we're chugging along. So I'm not gonna do like a crazy in-depth video on this process, but I'll try to cover, you know, the most important part or the basics at least. Yeah, having fun, just working my way through it, taking my time and keeping an organized list and color-coded bolt buckets and all that stuff to make it orderly and easy to put everything back together where it's supposed to go and not lose track of anything as I'm going through. But yeah, I'll get some light in here when we're doing like actual stuff, but for now I just wanted to give you guys an overview and a quick glimpse to the bottom side of this thing. Alright guys, checking back in with the CLK550 here. I'm working on it for the last few days. Mike's over here helping me out today. Alright you guys, I don't know what the GoPro got, so we're picking up from there, but Mike's here. We just got the automatic out of this thing. I'm not really as concerned with, you know, recording this for content purposes, just because it's for a customer. So I'm sending him updates more so than I'm worrying about updating for video for you guys, but I'm still trying to catch the important steps. I just tried to record as we were pulling the automatic out, but the GoPro didn't want to. So 722.9 is out. And then there's a starter ring. It's a little bit different design than the M113s. But all pretty much same process, same principles. So this rear man seal is nice and dry. Looks like maybe it was done or it just is still in really good shape. So now we're gonna start moving on to components, and for this swap he elected to kind of keep things OEM, so that's what we're doing. Got factory clutch and factory flywheel. So alright guys, you're picking up. I've been switching back and forth between cameras, so apologies, but I think this GoPro is finally working properly. So yesterday, this is I guess an important piece of information that's new to YouTube. The flywheel, dual mass flywheel that we're going to use on this thing is originally for M272. And here's the starter ring that came out of this M273. This M273, just like the M112 and M113, it's just a longer version of the same motor, or you know, 2 more cylinders added on. So we wanted to confirm whether you use the spacer that is originally behind this. And I didn't know for sure. I'd heard different answers from different people. Shout out to my friend Savo for helping me try to figure this out. After talking to one of his buddies, he found out, or what he thought, that the M273 doesn't need to use it, but he also has a friend that has a manual M273 and he did use the spacer. So it's very thin. I don't think it makes a whole lot of difference, to be honest. I'll show you guys this. It's very thin, like a millimeter, if that. So it probably wouldn't make a difference if you threw it in, but I just want to do it like factory. So we looked at the procedures. Shout out to Chris, also in the C55 group chat. He just removed one of these from a junkyard car, and I asked him, was it there? when you removed it. He said no. So we were taking measurements, comparing just the height, stacking it on these, and like to the teeth and to the little openings for the crank sensor, and all those were looking like the spacer should not be used. And then I was able to confirm it on the Mercedes procedure documents for M272 manual cars. So now I know, no spacer, this thing is going in. All right, you guys, Mike and Maze are in the art studio over here. We got the flywheel on. Those are torqued down. It is 35 or 45 Newton meters, 34 foot-pounds, and then 90 degrees. So I marked all of them basically with Sharpie. I don't know if you guys can see, just to the top, and then basically once I got to 3 o'clock, they're at 90. So it's quite the power needed to do that. So I used a long extension on my ratchet that I was using. So that's all in though. Unfortunately, I thought I ordered the clutch bolts for the pressure plate, but I don't think I did. So I gotta order those. I can just order, you know, a universal set. I believe they're M8 by 1.0 by 25 millimeters. So I'll double check again, factory, and then get those ordered. I swear I ordered them, but I don't know where they're at. So trying to get the transcooler lines undone and hanging down right now, and then we'll move on. All right, guys, Maze is driving the 190E. Said he's playing Need for Speed. Yeah. All right, I will. The other transcooler line, getting it off, and then I just found these. Kangaroo's team for the rescue again. Thank you, Petio. These are clutch bolts. So I took them out of the kit. That's gonna go. Okay. Took them out of the kit. That's gonna go in the 190E. I can use them for now and get our clutch installed, and we'll see if we want to throw the gearbox up today or not. All right, you guys, clutch is in and torqued down. Flywheel is already done. I think I showed you guys that. And now we can rip that out. So there is our metal tool. You guys see me use this multiple times now, but it's the same as a T56 if I remember correctly. Shares the same splines as most of Chevy's stuff, 26 spline, so comes in handy. All right, you guys, what is going on? It's been a while since I shut back on the project because we had a unexpected turn. Had nothing to do with the cars. For those of you familiar in Washington, we got hit with what was called a bomb cyclone, which is kind of crazy to name something, but we had a cyclone hit us. It was a really bad storm, like 30, 40 mile per hour winds. A lot of trees got knocked down. And needless to say, power was out for about 3.5, 4 days for us. So, yeah, kind of put a little wrench into plans as far as our progress goes, but I'm back to it. We've got some progress we need to make right now. I got the gearbox cleaned up earlier. It's all nice and pretty now, for the most part. I mean, as pretty as old cast aluminum is going to be, but it used to kind of look like that one. These ones are all pretty clean, so now this one matches those. So I still got to swap out our throwout, and then I'll fill it up with fluid. But before I get to that, because everything's kind of ready to be thrown in, let me go get my light real quick. Also, it's a new light. I really like it. I needed one for a long time. I don't know how I went so long without having something like this, but it's really good, very bright. It was like 30 bucks from Harbor Freight. But anyways, clutch is in, all bolted down, everything's good to go. Got grease inside of the bearing for the flywheel, and then I'll grease up the splines with the included spline grease with the clutch, or that came with it. Little pack. I think it's like a graphite type lubricant, but anyways, that's good to go. So we're pretty much ready down here for the gearbox once I, like I said, get fluid in it and the throwout. But I want to move on to the pedals and make our room for, you know, our line that's going to come through right there. And just the pedals are kind of a really annoying, tedious job, I should say. And I would like to get it done. So that's what we're going to do right now. get in there and fight with the pedals. And I'm finally being smart and just throwing a towel over the license plate so I don't have to keep editing it out. But yeah, it's not blurred anymore. I can just do the towel over it. Much easier. Let's go. Pedal time. Alright, you guys. Bottom cover panel is out. It's just T20s and then the connectors for the OBD2, some of the can, and the hood release right here. In front of the automatic pedal, you're going to get a little cover right there. It just pops off. And then from here, we're going to access all of what we need pretty much. I got to get our gas pedal off so I can get the carpets out of the way because we're going to run our clutch line under there. But yeah, this part is, there's some C-clips and then 13mm bolts holding the brake pedal assembly to the booster. And it's kind of a fight, but I don't know. It's just a necessary struggle, I guess. So that's what we're going to get done. And thankfully, I'm kind of standing up right now, so I'm happy about that. Let's get it done. All right, guys, I'm taking advantage and showing this process a bit more than I have in the past, just because I have better access now. So the 13 mils, there's 2 on the bottom side and then 1 up top. And I got carpets out, as you guys can see, and pedal out. So take off this little trim panel on the left hand side, makes it easier. And then the right hand side, I mean, if you have a center console off and stuff, you can, but otherwise it's really easy to slip under and replace the same way. So that's what we do. I got to get that little clip out, take the pin out for the spring. Watch your nose so you don't get nailed like I did one time. And yeah, just taking it piece by piece. All right, guys, camera's almost dead, but pedals are out. And now we got to get over to our manual clutch pedals, get the setup, get the master cylinder in there, and yeah, but here's all that we took out right now. All right, you guys, and here is our manual clutch pedal setup, brake clutch pedal. These are really tricky to get out. These little pins are like 4-prong, and you got to push them through. So you kind of just little by little poke them through, otherwise you'll damage them. I'm going to keep this, but we have a brand new hardline, so I just always keep these fittings around just in case. But yeah, that's about it. We got a brand new unit from Mercedes. This one honestly looks good, but you can check on the dates. This one says 04, so I'm not going to chance it and put it back in, especially for a customer car. If it was mine, I'd probably just leave it in. But for a customer car, brand new, of course. So swap this out right now, get it thrown in. All right, guys, and before the clutch pedal goes in, I put the line on, make it a lot easier to try to fish up there. All right, you guys, checking back in later on in the night. Ran out of time earlier to work on this thing, so now just finished up the clutch pedals. And all in all, definitely experience is the key here. It is a fight regardless, so I just kind of prepare myself for that every time I'm doing these clutch pedals. It just seems like, I don't know, the left side always gets bound up, and it's kind of like a perfect formation you got to get to make everything happy and situated where it wants to go. But all bolted in. I have the hard line run underneath. The factory reservoir line is already routed up there. Over there, hard to see, you guys, but either hard to see if I don't have my light, but the grommet is going through. Show you guys underneath once I get it lifted up, but right now I am moving on to the gearbox. I got to fill it up with fluid, change the hydraulic throwout, and then get ready to plug it in. All right, guys, well, we have come to a pivotal part of the project. Manual transmission is all prepped. Hydraulic throwout is in place, filled up with fluid, and we got our clutch line on. Factory one that goes into the trans, and then it'll meet with that line right there. Spline grease is on the clutch disc and the spline for the transmission. I've tried to wedge some foam and cardboard in here to get it kind of as level as I can. It's not perfect, but it'll do. Going one-man job right now, so. right, guys, well, definitely a workout getting to all the bolts right now. All of them are tightened up, so I'm happy. Switch between 3 cameras and all kinds of stuff, but yeah, this is tightened down at least, and we're moving on to the next steps. But we're getting close. From here, we'll set up the clutch, actually fill it up, test out our pedal, get that all bled. And then we can start bolting up the bracketry and get our driveline in, all that stuff, while we wait for the ECU to get back from Josh over at Mercedes Swap Shop. And once we get that back, should have everything buttoned up, ready to do our first test fire. There's been a lot of progress that's gone on since I last caught up with you guys, so I figured might as well start rolling again. Like we talked about earlier in the video, I think this being my first customer build, it's not really my top priority to record every single thing that I'm doing, as it's a lot of things that you guys have seen before, but I still want to document the process. So I'll get underneath the car here in a bit once I lift it back up. But something I'm really proud of, I wanted to show you guys, is inside the car. And that is our shift knob. I spent so much time on this, probably a couple hours to be honest, making this shift knob, because I really wanted to be able to reuse this stock shifter like the customer wanted as well, because it's such a unique knob with the unique wood matching with the rest of the car. It just was appropriate to make it work. So it is all good to go. The last thing I need to do now is I need to put a little bit of like electrical tape or something just to have a little bit more secure fit, so it doesn't have any of that wiggle movement back and forth. But essentially, I disassembled 2 different manual shifters and the stock automatic shifter, which is what this housing is basically, and then kind of grafted them together using epoxy, and I even put like some weights in it with epoxy underneath the shift knob, so has a really good weight to it. This shifter that is in here, which I'll show you guys from underneath what I had to do, and the extension on that feels so good. Like, I am fantastically impressed with this shifter feel compared to the cable shifters on the earlier 716s. I am gonna hoard these shifters, get as many as I can, and just keep them on deck, because I'm totally happy using these if they feel like this. You guys have seen I've used pretty much every shifter possible for these cars. I did my own, you know, kind of customization to the cable shifters when I first got those set up. Then I modified, you know, the shift length on it and tried a bunch of different shift rod combinations and shift knobs and whatever. And eventually figured out, okay, I can use the cooler work shifter, which a bunch of people have copied since, which it's okay, just learning from what's out there. And then after figuring that out, I was like, okay, if the BMW stuff works, then that means I can just use a BMW shift joint, and I'll use the Kangaroo's team, you know, chassis mounted shifter. That felt fantastic as well. But this being all OEM stuff, it's just really cool. And I would say this is pretty much on par with the feel of the Kangaroo's team shifter. And then here's reverse all the way up. Got plenty of room, and yeah, we're good to go. So the throws, honestly, like, they don't even feel that long. They feel, this just, I can't get over this, guys. It feels fantastic. I'm just really impressed with the feel of this. Now, the other big things I got to finish, not really big things, but the last 5% really of this project is I routed our reverse lights, the line or wires that go underneath behind the chassis, and they're actually sitting right here. The light in here, sorry, but these wires need to go up to the front SAM unit. And then I also have to wire our clutch pedal to the ECU. That will allow the car to start with the clutch depressed, and then it'll also keep what's called cruise control working. So I want to do this full OEM. There's nothing on this car that's not going to be like it came from factory as a 6-speed manual. So that's why this was so important. That's why wiring everything correctly is so important. and just getting it as dialed as we possibly can. So that's what I am picking up on right now. I will show you guys once I get there, and next time I got the car lifted up, I will show you guys underneath to see exactly how the shifter is sitting with the extension modification that we made to it. All right, interrupting real quick, guys, but I realized somehow I lost the video footage of the shifter, but in another episode you guys saw me welding it, and this is what we ended up with. Basically extended it with some brackets, extended it with welding on the shift rod, and then painted everything and threw it in the car. So this is what it looks like. All right, you guys, checking back in. It's the next night, and I just got things temporarily wired up to test from the ECU and for the SAM, and just bled the clutch, and fingers crossed, but it bled beautifully. I think I've learned the proper method over my 4 different attempts now. And yeah, we're running a tiny reservoir, a little clutch reservoir, but does the job. And perfect setup with the lift, the little slide tray. I set my bottle in there. That's the method I do nowadays, using the bottle, and basically just having the line in there and cracking it loose, letting it flow through, and then once it's kind of filled up, close it, pump the pedal, and then repeat the process. Open it up, pump the pedal, close it, and yeah, it bled pretty quick. So love to see that, because the last one we did, the red C55, you guys can't see this because it's dark in here, but clutch pops right back up, no problem. Even at the very top, pops right back up. And with this red C55, it was fighting us. It turned out the clutch master cylinder was faulty on that one. I tried to use a Beck & Arnley because it was metal. I was excited about the fact that it was metal versus plastic, but in the end came to bite me, and threw a plastic one in. So that's what we went with this. As you guys saw earlier in the video, it's all OEM stuff. Every single thing that we use to swap this is all OEM. So my plan right now, I want to do the clutch bled so that tomorrow we can do our first test fire. I might, actually no, I'm gonna wait till tomorrow. I gotta let the battery charge. This car's been sitting here in the cold for a long time with the battery unplugged. So I'm gonna grab the trickle charger, hook it up, and then tomorrow we'll test that I wired up the reverse lights correctly, and test that we got the proper pin on the ECU for it to talk properly as a manual. So yeah, we'll check back tomorrow evening. All right, you guys, well, tonight's the night. Finally, after all the work put in, we're gonna go for our first test fire. The car is not fully put together, but we've got the wiring mocked up in place, and we're ready to try to turn it over. There's a few variables to this that I think I got correct, but we'll find that out once I try to test fire it. If we got the correct ECU wire that we needed, and if the reverse lights are in the correct order, or if the reverse lights are going to be on all the time and then go off when I'm in reverse. So if that's the case, we'll just swap the wires, so no big deal. And then after that, if it is okay, tidy up the wiring, make it official. And then the last few things to finish underneath are the exhaust brackets and the drive shaft going back in. So yeah, let's hook the battery up and get this thing fired up. I've had the battery on the charger all night, so it's nice and charged up since it sat forever off in the cold. I'm gonna turn this thing on because I'm shivering right now. It's freezing in here. We'll let it warm up for a little while and get this battery hooked up. I'll catch you guys inside the cabin. All right, you guys, battery is hooked up. Car's got power. So yeah, I looked over everything after I finished up the clutch job last night. The wiring is tidied up as can be for testing. And yeah, clutch was bled, like we said. There's not really much else to do. We don't have a drive shaft hooked up, so not gonna go anywhere, but we just want to see if this thing can fire up. And I guess first thing to test real quick is what happens when you go into reverse. Oh, I think the reverse lights are on, so maybe that means I have it backwards. Let's see. Yeah, they're on, so I got it backwards. Okay, let's try to flip those real quick. Actually, I'm not gonna worry about that right now because I'm gonna have to undo the same anyway, so we'll do that in a second. If I go into reverse though, let me put the key back in. And this is what CLKs do, by the way. When you have the battery unplugged, the clock keeps spinning until it recenters itself. But if I go into reverse, yep, they go off. So we just have it backwards. So we will correct that here shortly, but let's go ahead. I have the clutch switch sitting down here. How this works is it's looking for it to be released for the car to be able to start, because when you push the clutch pedal in, that's what releases the pressure on this. When the clutch pedal is up, this is depressed, so it wouldn't let the car start. So theoretically, if it's left like that, it should let the car start, but I'm gonna push the clutch in anyways, just to be on the safe side, and let's go for it. All right, we have a very flat battery, maybe? Oh, or starter is not in the right spot. Okay, let's check things out. All right, guys, we are back. This thing is basically on conditioning mode right now. So, fingers crossed. But we should have enough juice to power this thing. The only thing I could think of, if it's not just the system being weak, selector lever and park. That might tell us something right there. All right, well, that warning went away as soon as I put the key in, but that could have to do with the fact that we still got to code the cluster. But we'll see. I don't know for sure if I heard the fuel pumps kick on. But let's give this a try again. Okay, clutch down. Okay, that seems like it wants to crank. Huh, okay, try again. Oh, okay, it wants to crank. However, fans are turning on high. That's kind of weird. It definitely wants to crank though. Okay, that's good news, good news, good news. Okay, let's see here again. Let's give it one last shot and hold it a little bit. All right, you guys, we're back, and I'm not sure exactly how much was covered in the last parts since we heard a strange noise starting the car up. I went through all the things I could to try to figure out, what could be possible, and I was completely stumped. But when doing a big project like this, and just something I've always committed to with you guys, and especially this being a customer car, I wanted to practice transparency and being forthright and showing you guys what really happened versus just slapping it all back together and acting like, I never make any mistakes. This one was an honest mistake, but I want to show you guys what it was and explain. And it's something that we discussed earlier in the video too, which is frustrating, but it's all right. It happened. Luckily, it's correctable, and I want to show you guys what happened. So first off, the gearbox is out, so that should explain a few things. And I had a few different ideas of, what could be possible, but at the same time, I was pretty stumped on what the heck that noise was on startup. That screeching noise, it was not normal whatsoever. I thought maybe it's a possibility of the clutch wasn't bled. Mike came over just so I could make sure I was doing it, the classic method with two people. But same results as me doing it solo. So started the car up and immediately got the same ugly metal screeching noise. So at that point I knew, all right, we can try to pull the starter out, but if that doesn't look like anything obvious, then I just got to pull the gearbox. So try to pull the starter out. Starter is really hard to get to on the M273. Couldn't really do anything with it. So it's like, all right, let's pull the gearbox. And after a little bit of searching around, this is what we found. So flywheel, like we talked about earlier in the video, if you guys remember, I was researching literally for almost a day of trying to confirm 100%, does this retain the spacer in the back or does it not? And everything I could find factory documentation wise, which we're kind of studying off of the M272 because that's what came manual. The M273 obviously never came manual. So I was building off of the information for M272. Everything said, do not run the spacer. There was no spacer that came out when I saw the documentation. Of removal of the manual flywheels, everything on the torque spec instructions and all that stuff, nothing spoke of the spacer being used behind the flywheel. Didn't even mention it as a part number or anything. So I was confident, I was 100% confident that it didn't need to be used. That's what we did. Obviously everything was put together and the metal screeching noise took place. Well, this is what it was. The back side of the flywheel, you can see, was just barely nicking on the rear main seal plate, which I'll show you guys. And the customer and I have discussed this, and I told him I am happy with whatever he chooses to do. I'll happily replace this if that's the way he wanted to go. But after us discussing it, he decided, no, it's, let's just move forward. So what happened basically is it was just skimming across this, and thank God, it wasn't at a depth where it was causing any structural damage to this plate. It just kind of made some ugly grooves in it. I actually sanded this down more than what it was because I'm going to go ahead and throw a coat of paint on this because it's steel. It's not aluminum like the M113 plates. But thankfully, as you can see, it's just kind of a little bit of ugliness, but the grooves is, you can't really make anything with your finger. It's all pretty much the same flushness as the rest of it. So just kind of made some ugly nicks. There's a little bit of ugliness, a few different spots right here that kind of bunched up the metal, I guess, a little bit, but nothing that's gonna affect the structural integrity of this thing. And it's just a lesson learned. I don't have any blueprint of documenting the M273 as a manual. I know maybe one or two people that have done it. And from the people that I asked, I got a 50-50 answer of, yeah, I use a spacer. No, I did not use a spacer. And then me looking at the documentation, I was like, well, I don't think it's going to be used. So I made that decision, went forward, and ended up coming back to bite me, unfortunately. But thankfully, like I said, didn't cause any real damage. It was just a very hideous noise. And, I didn't let it keep going, obviously, because it was not right. So the spacer I have right here, I mean, this thing is thin, guys. This is, a millimeter or two thick. It's nothing crazy, which is another thing of me doing the research. I was like, how much could this really affect things? But as we know now, it just skimmed this enough to where if this was in place, that doesn't happen. This is an old flywheel for comparison's sake, just to show you guys, like, here's the rivets that are on these, and comparing to the rivets here, like the thickness is still exactly the same. Feeling them with your finger, they just barely got touched. Chances are if those rivets were all the way flush, this thing probably barely would have touched, even less so, on this outside edge, etc. But it happened, but luckily it's correctable. Like I said, I told the customer I'd be happy to replace the rear main plate. The thing with M273 is you have to redo the lower oil pan because the back two bolts to get to that are inside of this area, like these spots right here. this bottom oil pan has to come off. So no big deal. Luckily they designed it to where you can easily, you know, service that. So I told him I am totally fine, whatever option you choose. We can send it as is, it'll be structurally sound, or if you want it perfect in here, then I will gladly order you the plate, and on me, of course. But I know it's safe to go forward, and you know, he said, no, let's just send it. Those marks are not going to change anything. And you know, I agree, but again, it's up to the customer what they wanted to do, and I would have respected either way. So in this case, it does save us a little bit of time. If we were gonna get those parts, the rear main plate, I'm sure it would have taken, you know, 3-4 days at least. But yeah, we're moving forward. So this is what it is. Luckily, I ordered 2 sets of the flywheel bolts because they're one-time use. There's no way I'm going to chance those again because they're stretch bolts. So I have brand new ones of those. And then I found a spare set of factory pressure plate bolts because those were not included in the Luck kit somehow. So I ended up using the Kangaroos team bolts out of their other kit that they had sent me. That worked, but they're not factory bolts. So at this point, I'd much rather just go in with that to eliminate any chance or anything like that. So yeah, this was totally out of left field for me. It was the last thing I would have expected, but lesson learned. And every time from now on, when I get the flywheel bolted up, I will spin it a few times to make sure I don't hear any contact. I did move it around a bit after I got it bolted up, but I didn't spin it over a full turn. Otherwise, I would have heard what we heard when we started taking everything apart. So, yeah, again, thank God, lesson learned, and we're moving forward. So I got to put all my work back together that I ripped apart right now. But thankfully, you know, besides me putting all this back together, the rest of the car is pretty much, you know, there. So we've done a lot of the hard 10%, last 10% jobs. Now we kind of took apart a big 50% of it, gonna put it back, and then we'll start straightening everything out again. So yeah, just being honest with you guys, it happened, and I would be foolish to try to hide it, or, you know, I could have just slapped everything back together and act like nothing happened, or not included any of this in the video, but I don't see the point of doing that. I think that's dishonest, and I wouldn't like that if I was watching somebody and knew that they did that. So yeah, that's what we're doing. Putting it back together correctly, and let's get to a nice startup scenario with no noises, no strange noises. Let's go. All right, guys, flywheel is not torqued down yet, but I just put a couple bolts in it, the old ones, so I could test spin it, and no contact in the back. So problem solved. Long way to get to solving the problem, but that's okay. Practice makes perfect, and now we know M273, you got to use that spacer behind the flywheel. It's different. M113 does not. M112 does not. M272 does not. But for some reason, maybe, I don't know, the rear main seal plate is different design on the M272 versus 273. But yeah, it needs it. So it's in there now. I'm gonna go ahead, do all the bolts. They are heavy work. Got to do the torque to, I can't remember what it is, 45 Newton meters, something like that. And then the 90 degrees. So I'll look up that spec again, mark them, and then twist them all 90 degrees. Take a little bit of force, but let's do it again, get it perfect. All right, guys, and for the second time, these are all torqued down, twisted to 90 degrees, and I spun this thing over multiple times now just to make sure I hear nothing, and all seems well. So gonna button up the clutch now and move forward. All right, guys, in part 2 of clutch in, it is now tightened up, 19 foot-pounds, or like 18.5 foot-pounds, 25 Newton meters. So now let's prep for the gearbox to go up. All right, you guys, and since I think I missed the time lapse on the first install, maybe, might as well record another one for you guys. So here we go. right, guys, kind of getting the hang of this. Fully flush. So now start lining up our bolts, get everything tidy back up, and yeah, we're looking pretty good. All right, you guys, well, it is a bright new day, and I spent late night yesterday getting everything back to the way it was. So test fit again, the flywheel, like I showed you guys, spun it many times, making sure it was clear, no noises, nothing. And yeah, we are back to kind of square one of where we left off before the whole noise happened. So I'm gonna go ahead and bleed the clutch right now, and then we'll try to fire it up. All right, you guys, clutch is bled, batteries plugged back in. Third time's the charm, as they say. Let's try this out. Still got everything temporarily wired up that we're gonna make a few changes to, but for now, at least want to hear this thing fire up. All right. All right. AMG gods, Mercedes gods. Let's go ahead and all right, here we go, guys. Oh, music to my ears. Clutch pedal going in. No noises. Oh goodness, guys. Lesson learned. And thank God, thank the universe, no damage in the lesson learned. Just a bit more work. So, finally, we can start buttoning this thing up, get it finalized, and finally get our drive shaft thrown in and take it for its first test spins. Woo! Well, that right there, guys, feels incredibly exciting, and can't wait to get this thing all wrapped up. I gotta make a good push this week to tonight, get everything wired up in the best way possible, and we'll get the drive shaft in, all that stuff, and then we can start taking it out for testing. Get some trust in it, take it up to speeds, do what I need to do, make sure, you know, it's properly sorted through and, you know, gone through with a fine-tooth comb before shipping it back. So, it's a beautiful day out today. Appropriate that a beautiful thing happened. Got it fixed. It's all back together for the most part, and now we just got to finish the last 10%. All right, you guys, to be honest, I'm not entirely sure where we last left off, but I think we've made a good bit of progress since. Looks like an engine bay again. Sam is all put back together, soldered all of our connections I needed to do for our wiring. Spent like an hour last night with Josh, Mercedes Swap Shop, figuring out a relay situation to get our reverse lights working properly. Those are working now. Huge shout out to Josh for all the help that he's provided with this project, and you know, ECU programming and everything to make these things possible. What else? We got to finish. Everything underneath is finished. I just got to put the belly pans back on. And then, yeah, right now I'm just going to finalize basically my wiring. That's done. Inside of the driver footwell, which you guys can't really see right now, but yeah, just finalizing things. And then we got to do a little bit of programming in DOS for the cluster, and then I got to take it out on a drive. Might even take it out tonight. It's raining and dark, but might just go take it for a quick spin, and then tomorrow obviously I'll bring you guys along in the daylight. So I left my GoPro at work too, so we're working on the other camera. GoPro will be a lot better for the in-car footage once we do go for our first few drives. So check back with you guys in a little bit. All right, guys, well, we just completed the coating for the car. We previously used to get a error screen message on the instrument cluster saying vehicles in park, but now it's all programmed to manual. Instrument cluster, a couple other things, and yeah, it's all good to go. I tidied up all the wiring, made everything look like factory. Obviously we don't have our plate here yet, so that's our OBD2 connector and our CAN bus connector, but yeah, everything else is nice and tidy. I'm gonna get the carpets back in here. I gotta gas pedal out real quick. Carpets, put that back, put the under tray, and it is all put back together after that. Crazy. It's been fun. Alright, you guys, well, with most of the car buttoned up here, wanted to give you guys one last look at underneath, since I don't know if I showed you guys once I got everything back together down here. But there it is. It's all put back together. Now I just gotta put the pans on it. Alright, you guys, well, we're officially at the point where I'm ready to take this thing out for the first test spin. Being convertible, I don't have my normal GoPro mounting location, so I think this is an okay spot. I'll test it out here in a second, but I just put all the carpet pieces back on this side. Car is completely buttoned up, so I'm gonna go ahead, test fire it. I'll get a camera out there so you guys can see, and yeah, just gonna do a quick cruise around the neighborhood. Luckily the weather has cleared up a little bit. We had a bad storm yesterday, but it's kind of dry right now, so take it out while we can for a quick cruise, test things out. All right, guys, here we go. Had the battery on the charger the last few days. Alright guys, so I got an eye to spot me as I came out of the lift right there. This car's pretty low, so I just wanted to be safe. Nothing scraped, thankfully. And also, you guys can't really hear right now, but the exhaust setup on this car is absolutely fantastic. I'm a big fan. Actually, I gotta get a little more over. Guys, so far clutch engagement feels good, getting into gears is fine. Let me grab the other camera outside. All right guys, let's go for a spin. To spin the tires right now. It's cold. Yeah, it's just spinning the tires. Alright guys, well, for a first drive, quite happy, quite pleased. It feels very natural, as it should. I'm guessing if somebody drove this car without knowing that it ever came automatic, they would think that it was like this from factory, and that is the goal with a project like this specifically. You know, my C55, I've made it kind of like track oriented, and you know, made the shifter completely different, and you know, not like a factory assembly at all anymore. But the goal with this car was OEM plus, so trying to add on what was already there and use all factory components to do it. And so far feels like we've done that. The shifter feels phenomenal. It's very smooth but direct and easy to pick which gear you're going to. Clutch engagement feels really good. The power delivery is there for sure. I drove this car briefly, bringing it home with the 722.9 in it, and definitely picked up some ponies, I think, just from changing out you know, that drivetrain method. So yeah, we'll leave it there. I'll take you guys out later when I take it for a proper, you know, longer drive. We got to get it up to, you know, 60 to 80 mile per hour speeds and go through all the gears. But yeah, as of now, gearbox feels good, clutch feels good, engagement feels good, driving good. So alright you guys, well, it is day 2 of testing, and I want to take the car out again to take it out to proper speeds and just put it through its paces a little bit more. So bringing you guys along for the ride. Hopefully the view is okay. Trying to pick out different spots with the convertible type in mind too. So I got the passenger seat all the way slanted down, give you guys a nice view at shifter, dash, everything else. And car is completely cold right now, so let's go ahead, fire it up. Alright guys, so just FYI, just gonna be me driving really. I'm not gonna talk much right now because I want to listen, hear the car, make sure everything's doing what it's supposed to be doing. So I will say the throttle response is really good. I can tell the M273 is a more peppy engine, I would say, over the 113. Just maybe that's just tuning or throttle response from factory, but definitely has a better pedal feel than most. Very quiet with the windows up in this car actually. Sound deadening is pretty good for the convertible. I'd only driven it with the windows down previously and it made it seem like it was a lot louder than it is. It's pretty refined. Funniest things with driving these cars around once they're manual swaps is just thinking about people looking at the car from the outside and just they would never know. They would just never know, never expect this car to be manual transmission. Wow. I was like half throttle, guys. Okay, M273 definitely has a way different power band than the M113. a lot more linear, a lot smoother, and feels like it's got more pull. I don't know, that was a different feeling. That was different than I'm used to. Oh, this car's low. Okay. It's a lot of fun, guys. It's a fun combo for sure. Also, like, A, I've never driven a convertible car, I think, ever. B, I've never driven a convertible 209. And C, it's not my car, so I'm not entirely comfortable. I don't know it very well as far as the setup goes, suspension, how it feels, how it's supposed to feel. So I can't really push this car like my own whatsoever without spending a lot more time with it. But drivetrain wise and throttle response wise, it's really, really enjoyable. Yep, finally got a smooth road. Yeah, it feels good. And I was probably like 3/4 throttle, maybe. I like it. I like it. This is thumbs up at this point. Talk about this at a certain part of the video, maybe beginning of the video before you guys started this whole part of the process. But one of the reasons why I took on this project after saying no to so many is because I was genuinely really curious about the M273. I've been thinking about it for a long time as maybe a platform that I wanted to get into, and I figured this could be a really good opportunity to, you know, have a chance at experiencing it and giving somebody else the opportunity to have one with a 6-speed. I just think when you look at the blueprint of the motor itself, it's like an in-between of the M119 and the M156. You know, quad cam, big displacement for a German V8, 5.5 liters, produces a good amount of horsepower. That was spinning the whole way. Oh my god. Okay, now I'm having fun. I'm having too much fun. But yeah, the M273, I hope you're seeing right now why I was interested in it, but I was very interested in it, and this project gives me the opportunity to see why I thought it might be so good, and it's proven to me right now that it is. It's just a really cool motor, and I think it was slept on for a long time, and because of the, you know, crankshaft balance issues on the 272s more so, and some of 273s, people really started to kind of dismiss these engines. But I know so many 272s and 273s with heaps and heaps of miles on them, and they're good performers. They're very efficient for what they are. They're easy to work on. Spark plugs on top of the, you know, valve covers. The ECU sitting right there. All the wiring harnesses, like you can pull the motor with the ECU basically on it. It's just a simple kind of platform for what it is. As complex as a quad cam German V8 is, it's pretty simple in terms of working on it and parts to keep it happy. So that's why I've been so intrigued about them, and I've had my eye on, you know, a few over the past few months on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, etc. Not necessarily a 550 car, maybe, but more so just the motor to use in a project down the line. And I think a quad cam V8 modern with an ECU that actually has, you know, tunability with the ME 9.7 with a 6-speed is like butter. So dude, it's just spinning. Oh my gosh, this car's a blast. All right, right, guys, well, we've tested it out. I've gotten decently comfortable as I'm gonna get driving around the car that I don't know entirely, but comfortable in the swap and everything. So I think it's only right that we try it with the top down, and thankfully we got some good weather out of nowhere, so we got a good hour or so to try to take advantage. I want to experience it. It's here. I've never experienced a convertible car, and I've never experienced a convertible car like this with manual transmission. So when in Rome, as they say, let's at least take a cruise with the top down once. All right, to be honest, I have no idea really how this process works. I watched some YouTube videos yesterday, so we're just gonna try to do what we can and see what happens. Okay, things are happening. Things are definitely happening. Car is transforming, and the top is that was crazy. That was actually crazy. That was cool. I've never experienced that. Let's take a look at it. I bet it looks very good. Wow, okay, this is a whole nother vibe right here. All right, let's see how it is. Let me take some pictures of this thing. Well, I think we gotta go for a cruise like this at least once, right? Okay, and the question is, I kind of feel like I should stick you guys right there, but then the wind noise is probably gonna be crazy. So I feel like it's worth it though. Maybe we should do that, and I'll have the camera inside recording. I don't know how much you guys can hear back there, but this is fun. I understand convertibles now. Yeah, I understand convertibles now. Yep. Guys, well, talk about an experience. The top down in the 209 with an M273 and a 6-speed manual. Never did I think I'd see the day, but I'm glad I did. This car is so much fun. It's definitely a unique experience compared, you know, to the rest of what I'm used to here, but fun nonetheless. And like I said, I think you guys heard me because we stopped and the wind wasn't blowing you guys out, but I understand convertibles now. I understand why people are into them and the experience of them. They're not going to be, you know, as good of handling. They're not going to be as light as other cars. They're not going to be, you know, a bunch of different things dynamics wise, but it's an experience and it's a lot of fun. And being open air, cruising is definitely a vibe. I can only imagine like summertime, this car with the 6-speed cruising around would be an absolute blast, and be able to absorb all the scenery. So yeah, it's a good spec. So I will leave it there, and we'll jump to the rest of the video. All right, well guys, we're officially at the end of a huge project and totally new experience for me. And I just wanted to kind of close the video out with my overall thoughts, details that I might have missed or lost footage for, and you know, the hour that you guys did see. Behind that hour, there was many hours, you know, cut out that I filmed. And I'd say overall, I probably have 25 to 30 hours in the project itself. So I guess to start off, that I didn't really talk about this in the beginning, but you know, how did this come to be? You know, how did I decide to do this, and just the opportunity, where did it come from? I've been asked hundreds of times now since completing, you know, the manual swaps on the previous 3 cars that I've done, the 2 CVT5s, the E420. I've had people reach out, email, Instagram, YouTube comments. I've even had people find my phone number and try to reach out to me that way, to ask me if I would manual swap their cars. And out of those, you know, people, there's probably been 20 to 30 that were really, you know, I felt like were really serious about doing so. And I always said no. I didn't feel like I was ready to take something like that on. I didn't really want to, and it just didn't make sense to me at the time. But when getting this house and getting this garage shop, and especially once we decided to get the lift, I knew that, you know, maybe that would be a possibility. Maybe that's something that I would be interested in taking on. You know, A, for the experience of it, getting to experience a new car, new platforms potentially, and B, of course, you know, to bring funds into the channel and make this whole thing, you know, sustainable. All of what you guys see, I pretty much spend all my own money on. And to do that while taking care of my family, and I'm only working one job outside of this, I'm a teacher, you know, it takes a lot of calculation and risk taking at times, and just kind of betting on myself and a lot of things. And to have, you know, the ability to complete a project like this for somebody else as a paid gig is huge. It provides a ton of relief towards what I'm trying to do, and it just keeps things able to be moving smoothly. And you know, I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on these cars at this point. You know, just the cars alone, buying them, I probably have, you know, 30, 40 grand. And then you add on all the money that I've spent for, you know, taking care of them, modifying them, etc. It's a lot of money, and that's just cars in general. I mean, even just taking care of a regular car is expensive sometimes. And when you go to modifying and doing all the stuff that we do, you know, it goes up. So when this car became, you know, a possible first opportunity to do something like that, I was intrigued for a few reasons. A, customer was very serious and sincere, and just really appreciated what I'm doing, was respectful and respected what I was doing. And the car itself was intriguing to me. You know, I have a C209, this is the A209, and just the 209 chassis in general, I found intriguing to manual swap because I'd never done one. and then the M273, which I talked about briefly in the video while driving. The M273, I think, is a really, really great platform, and it was a motor that I've been interested in for the last few years, really. And I just felt like it was it was the perfect blend of the right person, you know, owner of the car, the right mechanical aspects, you know, engine. And I just felt like it was time. And right around the time he reached out to me, it was just when we were moving, and I told him, you know, probably not going to be anything possible for the foreseeable future, but, you know, please reach out maybe in a couple months time, and I'll see how I'm feeling about things. And he ended up reaching out again, and that's when we had made plans to get the lift. And I said, you know what, this might be perfect timing. This might be the right opportunity to finally do something like this. And I'm glad that we did. It was just an awesome experience. I learned so much. Like, I went into this not thinking that I knew everything about manual swapping them, of course, but you know, felt like I had a really good foundation and understanding and experience to be like, okay, I know what to do for the most part. But even that still, when doing something like this, where, you know, you got the pressure of doing that on somebody else's car, it still is new. You know, it's not something that I have done per se for that particular car and engine. And then also figuring out all of the electronics and the programming side of things was all new to me, because the CVT5s, both of them, like, I didn't bother doing the reverse lights, even though I knew how. Everything was programmed, but Josh did mostly everything for me from Mercedes Swap Shop. This time around, you know, he helped me out a lot and went through DOS together, and then some stuff I found in DOS alone, like with the reverse lights, I figured out a whole kind of secret menu to make them work in the proper way, so that you know, I didn't need to use a relay or anything to get them to work properly. So I learned a lot, and I think if you've been around my channel for long enough, you know that's my favorite thing about life, and my favorite thing about the cars is just the opportunity to learn and gain new experience and new knowledge, so that you build confidence going into the next situation and the next situation. And that's what's happened my whole car career, I guess you could say. It's just steamrolled into something where it's unbelievable, you know, the experience that I've attained, I guess, just to myself. Like, because I mean, I didn't know crap about cars when I first started all this, and I still feel like I barely know anything. But I've had a really cool experience all together, and I've got to really build on top of each thing that I've gained along the way and turn it into something that I'm really proud of now. And I have all these different builds. I got builds I'm still working on to let that kind of creativity out and let that experience out, and you know, continue to build onto it. So it's just a really, really special opportunity. Don't take it lightly. So that's it. I mean, I don't want to drag this on forever and ever. It's already an hour-long video. What I will say is I'm planning on making kind of an update video for this one. The car is being prepared to be shipped back to the customer now. And once it's back home, I want to get, you know, feedback from him, and, you know, just continue it from there. And in that video, I think I'll also kind of dive a little deeper into my thoughts on everything. And this is not something that I plan on doing all the time, but if I can do 2 or 3 of these per year and still maintain them as interesting projects for the channel, you know, I'll make content around that. If it's a car that I've done before, I probably won't make videos about it, but it's still something that I could do. Like I said, 2 or 3 times a year, just to, you know, keep rolling in some money for the channel itself and for continuing this on, so that I don't put strain on, you know, my own finances and my family and things like that. It's kind of just gotten to the point where, you know, I need to figure out how to make money from this, and, you know, I don't want to sell out or do anything like that, but, you know, I have to find ways for my family and I to keep doing this if I want to keep doing this. It's just a necessary part of it, and I think I've earned those stripes to be able to kind of venture out into those waters, and hopefully you guys respect that. And I'll still be me all the time, I promise. And yeah, I feel very, very blessed, very gracious to even be looked at as somebody to have the confidence to send your car over to me and just have 100% confidence in me to get the job done. That means the world to me, and I won't ever forget this. It's the first one. You know, hopefully there's more to come down the road. But regardless, this was an amazing opportunity, and I'll cherish it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have questions, let me know. I'm sure I missed details, and I'm sure I missed a few things throughout the video, but I tried to throw in as much as I could, and it was a blast. And thank you guys all for supporting me for the past, who knows how long the channel's been running now, 7-8 years I feel like. But just thank you guys for sticking with me, and truly I'm thankful for you guys, and this is awesome. It's a lot of fun. That said, we'll see where the next adventure takes us. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.